That's true, but I hate it when people get drunk and they walk across.
Oh, I know.
So there's a lot of things about life you can
Just,
hate, and you just got to accept that people
I tell
do
my
that.
kids all the time, just be aware of your surroundings. Even if you're using a phone, just be aware because people drive like
But it's
idiots.
how we.
I've almost been hit on my bike by them.
Yes, they do. But for me, like, look at this. Well, I'm all riled up. I don't like that. I say, people don't drive well. Stay softer about it is my thing. People are idiots. You know, it's the energy
Did you know
put
the guy
into
from
it.
West Bloomfield that got killed in Hawaii?
Yeah,
Serwin?
yeah, it was sick. That's
my
why
brother-in-law rides with him. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I've been hit by cars.
I know that.
It's like,
I know all that stuff. I'm just saying the
brutal.
volatility in which we express our opinions should be softer. That's what I feel. I was sick when Jeffrey got hit. He got hit a mile and a half from where I live in Hawaii.
By the
He
cop
got hit by.
who was, I was just
You don't know what the cop was.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know anything.
Right,
I just know what I read.
And the minute I read it, I could remember Michael Cerno standing in my store licking ice cream cones.
Hey, I've ridden my bike there. It's just heartbreaking.
It happens every day.
I know.
I mean, I watched the lady last night coming down Woodward. You know, she was confident and everything. And anyway, let's get off of that. But we have different attitudes about how to handle things.
I'm a guy.
Doesn't matter. I think there's got to be a softness in life.
I don't want to be warm and fuzzy.
Why not?
Buy a teddy bear.
I think it's important. Okay.
It's like a woodpecker. Oh, that's a lady making food.
Yeah, it's the Emily T. Gail Show here on ESPNHawaii.com, and I am in my hometown of Detroit that I'm always talking about. And once again, it's just been a wonderful week to get together with new friends and old friends, and of course all of us saying nice things about Detroit. But there's a particular person who years ago was a sidekick to a columnist in the Detroit Free Press, a gentleman by the name of Bob Talbert. And his sidekick was Dane Gussin. Is that right, Gussin? Is that how you say it?
Don't be fussing with Dane Gussin.
Okay, it is Dane Gussin then.
Close, yeah.
Okay.
Gussin.
What is the proper?
Gussin.
Okay, Gussin. Because 3 times this week I was saying people's names incorrectly, so I realized I need to ask. Okay, so Dane Gussin. I remember you so well from in the late 70s, early 80s with Bob, who had a regular column in the Detroit Free Press and was always a great supporter of mine, and you were always with him. And then, of course, everything we did was before fax machines and social media and the Say Nice Things About Detroit. And we had the first Detroit t-shirt ever and the first
hanging out at Emily's.
Everybody hung out at Emily's, it seemed like. Not when we first opened, but it became
it became the place to hang out.
We worked at it. So, fast forward many years in social media, and we become friends on social media. And you were a photographer way back when. And just looking at the photography that you do, and you were always out doing, taking hikes and photography of charity events and everything. And then I started seeing things that were really, I saw that was just one little piece of your photography. So while I want to talk a lot about, well, first of all, let's talk about how you got into photography, because you're a financial advisor by profession. And how did it come about that you became so passionate about photography?
I started as a young child in the 50s with a camera, and I would take it out to the lake and just shoot photos of what would go on at the lake. Not necessarily people, but the lake, animals, never pose shots.
35 millimeter film?
No, this was like the old...
Instamatics?
No, before that. It was like the old Argus, where you'd open it up and look down.
Oh, no way, really?
Yeah,
okay.
it was, I want to say it might have been 35. I'm thinking it might have been 35.
Okay.
But that's where I started. My grandfather got into video. When the weather was bad, he'd put the video on the wall. We'd watch it because I grew up at a cottage.
Well, was it video or was it 8 millimeter
Both.
film?
It was 8 millimeter.
Yeah.
But on the wall, it was like, it was people dancing
so
and
from
stuff.
a technical standpoint of film, it wasn't video, it was 8 millimeter.
Yeah, it was 8 millimeter.
Right.
There was no voice
For
or
those
anything.
that don't realize, I mean, there's the evolution of all these things.
Right.
It's very interesting, and it's exponentially has happened so fast recently. But I've got my old 35 millimeter cameras, and I've got an Instamatic somewhere, and I've got the first laptop I ever got. Which
I
was
went
the
and
Tandy
bought
laptop.
on one of the internet sites a Bell & Howell 8 millimeter projector.
Well, I grew up...
And I watched it, and it's cool.
I remember those well because when I was a kid, my father had a camera store. And we used to have to go into work with him, at the age of 8 or 10 at night. He had an office supply and camera store in Wyandotte. And so we got kind of introduced to cameras, and we did a lot of 8 millimeter film, family films, and things like that, and would show them and look at them. And
It's funny. I go to Wyandotte now to get my camera fixed.
oh, is that right?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the places that works on them.
What
But
camera store is that?
Midwest.
Okay, they've probably been there a long time.
Oh, a
then.
long time.
Okay.
They're an official.
So you probably also spent a lot of time at Detroit Camera Shop.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which would have
I
been
mean,
Joe
yeah.
Maher. Did you
Yeah.
know Joe?
Oh yeah. I
Okay.
spent a lot of time at Adrays.
And Joe, Mike Adrace?
Yeah, Mike
Adrace.
Adrace. That's where I
And
spent
Joe
a lot of
Maher
time.
was right downtown near Tiger Stadium, and he's told me, I was just with him the other day, many stories about the ball players and Gates Brown and everybody that used to come into Detroit Camera Shop in those old days of 35 millimeter and just the way it was. So now, you know, when you fast forward and it's digital, and people just don't realize all the evolution and why you needed all those supplies and everything. So, okay, so you started, you know,
In the
took an
50s.
interest in it. And did that carry on like through high school, or did you?
I never stopped taking photos.
Okay.
I had a darkroom probably in the mid '60s.
So you were developing as well.
Oh yeah, I was developing
Okay.
film,
And it was you.
and I was shooting video back then also.
Or film. You were shooting
Shooting
8 millimeter.
film, yeah. I was
Because
shooting.
video didn't start
Yeah,
until
well-
about the what? The
Well,
70s.
this was
60s, maybe late 60s, 70s.
yeah, I mean it was a big pan. I don't probably in the '70s. I want to
Okay.
say. I mean.
I think it was about them, and it was Betacam.
Right.
Okay,
They were
because-
big. They were huge
Right.
cameras. They were not little
Because
cameras.
I just stopped at a photography place. I've got a lot of old Betacam films, and
Good luck.
Guy Gordon from Channel
Channel 4, yeah.
I ran into him when I was doing the show with Elisa Z. She has the show on CBS, the 5 stations, and I went into the huge, you know, headquarters of CBS Radio, which and I remember
Right.
years ago when WWJ was one little studio in Detroit. But Guy was there because all the TV stations mixed in with the radio now, and he said, "Do you happen to have any of those old tapes? Because Channel 7 did a great job of archiving their stuff, and we didn't save things, not of my stuff,
Right,
but
right,
of
right.
everything."
In general.
And I said, as a matter of fact, I do. I have a lot of beta cam, and I've been searching a lot to find someone to process the beta cam. And I was just over at Hyde overnight, a few minutes ago, down the street from where we are right now. And they've been in business since 1924. And Tom Height said, "You know what? I happen to have one right now because a guy came in who had the machine, and he had 100 beta cams. He wanted them transferred to digital.
You got lucky.
And he said, if you can get your stuff in here before he comes back,
You
because
got
I've
lucky.
tried to get him to sell it to me, and I'm not sure he will. So I'm going to rush the stuff in there on Monday." And I say all that because it's like the cell phones, everything, all the different evolutions of them are really interesting to talk about. So you've been through all those phases. Have you saved those cameras in the
Yeah.
past?
Well,
Is it-
most of them are junk. I
Yeah,
mean,
but I
they're
mean-
paperweights.
But they tell a
Oh,
story.
I've got them, but they're paperweights.
Okay, but they tell a story when you look at them. And to
Yeah.
somebody who doesn't know, I mean, that's what the Historical Museum is all about, right?
Right.
You go in, I went up to
I'm
the...
a pack rat. I don't throw
I-
anything
I
out.
agree.
People, I
You
mean,
can
it's
call it-
ridiculous.
You can call it Pat Rack. I don't call it that. I went up to the Detroit Police Museum yesterday, and the stuff they had, and people were coming in. There were 2 or 3 people that came in and donating things, and like I said, what is that marble thing there? Jeffrey Lemieux, who is the curator and historian, he said, well, that was a surveillance camera. Now, if somebody hadn't saved that, he wouldn't have that.
See, when
in
we're
there.
done, we're going to go downstairs and I'm going to show you all the original
Okay.
Grandy Ballroom posters I've saved.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm just saying this
How's
is...
that for a
I think
Grandy Bar?
that's
You know,
great.
now that's a place where we all hung out and listened to
Right.
music.
I didn't. I
You-
wasn't
were
a
you
part of
serious?
that. My brother was a part of that, but I wasn't.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what I was doing at that
What
time.
was
So
wrong with you,
anyway,
girl?
it's the Emily T. Gail Show, ESPNY.com. We're talking with Dane Gussin. And
Don't be fussing with Dane
Gussin. Okay. So, okay, fast forward. Now you get into, I mean, we're sitting here looking at your GoPro and all your cameras, and I mean, you must have taken 40 frames in 10 seconds, or in 5 seconds, in 3 seconds. I mean, and we did hook up last month when I was in Detroit with an organization, because you help so many organizations with the photography, and you know, it's such an important ingredient to document the events that go on, and because I do a lot of that on radio and video, and I did it in camera for people for years, and because otherwise they usually don't get it. And it seems like every weekend on Facebook I see that you're out there helping some organization. Last month I was in town, and Sandra McNeil from WWJ and Elisa Z with WWJ and the CBS radio.
My
asked me to
partners
come
in
out.
my partners in
Yeah.
crime
Yeah, 'cause,
with Horses Heal Hearts.
And Lisa is the president, and they've both been real good to me in terms of when I'm here and doing media with me, and kind of keeping the caretaking to say nice things about Detroit and getting it out there in the consciousness of people, or pulling it out of the
People
consciousness
should
of people.
say nice things about
Yeah,
Detroit.
and they do. So let's
And
talk.
wait a minute, they should give you the credit for it too.
And they do.
Okay.
They
Okay.
do.
I just want to make sure.
Maybe not the money, but I do get the credit. And
Okay.
you know what? That's more important to me. Because
Absolutely.
Somebody said, "Did you trademark it?" You know,
Money
it's always
doesn't
like
go
that.
with you. The credit stays.
And my thing was, you know, who says they would want to use it if it was trademarked? But right now, many people in the city are using it, and Whole Foods has it on their wall when you go in, and Shinola has it on that great big billboard on the building downtown, and they use it as their hashtag, and they're very kind to me. And so let's fast forward to the Horses That Heal Hearts. That's just one organization that you work, Dane Gussin, that we're speaking with here on the Emily T. Gail Show, ESPNHawaii.com. You can get it, the free podcast on iTunes under Emily T. Gail Talk Story, and also on Facebook. So talk about Horses Heal Hearts, and 'cause
Horses Heal Hearts.
the photos you got of these kids that we went to. It was a Plymouth Educational School. Kids that have never been on horses.
Horses Heal Hearts. We started about 4 years ago after a police officer was killed during a suicide attempt. He tried to stop the guy, and the guy shot him, accidentally killed him, and left 4 children. So I got in contact with the police department who I'd done stuff through. You know, we wanted to take horses out to have a surprise birthday party. He had left 4 children under the age of 10. So we wanted to take horses out to have a surprise birthday party for the children. And the police department, Karen Whitefoot and I decided at this time to do this. And I had met her previously at a suicide prevention group that we both worked in. And we understood, you know, that these kids had just lost their dad, who was a police officer, that went in to try and help someone from committing suicide. We took the horses out. We got the approval of the police department. And it was, I mean, it wasn't a dry eye there that day. There was about 30, 40 people there. The 4 kids, friends, family.
What's the family name?
O'Rourke was Officer
Okay.
Patrick O'Rourke.
Okay.
And the wife's name is Emily. And the wife's name is Amy. Emily is one of the children. And Amy I still see occasionally, you know, at different events. But just to see how the kids interacted with the horses. Then we went out to the schools to see how the kids who never see horses anymore get to interact with the
Well, they're inner
horses.
city kids, a lot of them,
Right,
so they
I
never
mean,
get the opportunity.
We did events where there were a total about 900 kids, and I can tell you for a fact only one of them had ever ridden a horse before, out of 900, which is, I couldn't comprehend, but that's the truth. These kids are all in the inner city, and when we go back, their world's changed, because now they think of, you know, horses and things they never thought about before.
Well, when we showed up, and of course you're, you know, a regular with this thing. I didn't realize that was how it began. That you were at the helm of getting it started, and of course your good friend Elisa took on the presidency as if she didn't have enough to do. But when we showed up on that Monday, right over there by Easter Market, one of the largest farmers markets in the country, right in the inner city of Detroit, a wonderful place, and here was the school, and these energetic kids. There must have been 50 or 60 of them that came out and lined up, and then while there were 2 horses, and while the students were getting on it, we all kind of found our way to volunteer, was playing with the kids, and we were doing relay races and all kinds of things, and just
They couldn't believe that we brought horses out for them.
Yeah, it was.
There was like, they were like, wow. It was like, you know, I mean, it was amazing for them, because who would do that?
But
why would we do that for them?
Because you're who you are.
No, I mean, but they're trying to say,
thinking,
like,
yeah,
why are they,
yeah.
you know, there's nothing in it for them.
Right.
And that's the whole idea.
Exactly.
It's not for us.
But the beauty of it was that somebody was there documenting it. And that's the beauty of everybody that goes out and takes pictures. And that's why I love it, the fact that everybody can take pictures on their phones. Because even though we might not want to see what somebody had for dinner, there's a lot of documentation that goes on that saves.
Wait, you don't want to see what someone's had for dinner
saves
7
the
days a
history
week?
of somebody's family, you know, weddings, or when they went to the beach or went out on whatever it is.
Someone you've not seen in 30 years, or happens to be in a photo with someone. You go, wait a minute, I remember him.
So I think, you know, the documenting of it is really important. And when I look back at the photos from that day and the videotape, both what you took with the more professional equipment and that I was doing on my phone, I look at those videos with those kids and the joy, and more than that, just how much joy they got out of being on camera.
which
is
gave you
really-
joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been doing this kind of stuff a lot, whether it's talking with people and putting them on the radio.
That stuff
or
touches your
docu-
heart.
it's-
That stuff.
But
just,
here's
it's
the
different.
thing that I want to point out: it's a lot of work.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I
Oh.
get drained sometimes. I use very little of what it is that I take, because a lot of it goes to the people. But by the time I get it on radio or everything, it is a lot of work, and I just want to acknowledge that.
People
don't realize how much.
People don't understand.
Will you send me that picture? Will you send me
taking
that?
it's not even that. I take the photo of the video, that's one thing. Then you have to edit it. I may take 2 hours taking photos and 4 or 5 hours editing the stuff.
Yeah,
It's not like, I took the photo, okay, I'm done. I'll just email it to you.
yeah.
I mean, every person I meet, oh, will you email? They're giving me cards. Like, here's my card. I'm not going to, I can't even remember who you are right now.
It's also why I go to fewer and fewer things, because I come home and I've got so much, would you do
Cards,
this
and you
for
don't
me?
know who they even.
Well, I do. It's just I've got other things I need to do that are taking care of my own life.
Right,
so-
exactly.
So now let's fast forward. I mean, that's what you do out there in the community, but there's another side of you that's really done some wonderful films, and that when I first saw one of the films that you were nominated for an Emmy called Field of Ashes, okay, and you've had 3 films that were nominated for Emmys, and one of them that did get an Emmy. So let's talk about that. First of all, let's talk about Field of Ashes.
Fields of Ashes was a story of George Zeff. George Zeff was kidnapped at 9 years old by the Nazis. His father fought in the French underground. When we started interviewing George, I looked at him. He was on in Detroit TV previously, Milky the Clown, Soupy Sales, and Bill Kennedy at the Movies. 3 shows that I watched as a child growing up. Never realizing he was in it till he told me. When I started interviewing him, he has a thick French accent. I go, George, now what do you want? He said. I said, did you perhaps teach French on TV in the 60s? He goes, oui. I said, I was one of your students. So I was in audio-visual back then, so we brought the TV set in the room. He was the guy teaching me the French. So we went on to do his film about his life story, what happened as a Holocaust survivor. Then we did a second film called An Interview with Stephen Goldman, which is pretty much on the meaning of the Nazi boxcar.
Well, let's talk. Can we go to?
No, we can talk about whatever you
A little
want.
more about George's, and then we'll go on to the
Okay.
boxcar. More about George's. And you see, you have a son named Bob Zeff.
No,
Okay, so
Bob Zeff's a totally different